but I can't hear you unless you wave me over because I have headphones in. Just going to make sure it looked okay on my end, but I'm just going to do a little more of that so that you can definitely see me. So let's start kneeling today. We're going to start with some stuff for the shoulder. Oh, I just gave myself a panic. A little leaf blew by and I thought it was a really, really big bug. Let's start with kneeling. So I'm just going to set myself up with like a little kneeling blanket pad situation. You're welcome to do the same. And we're going to do a little bit for the shoulders to start. Warming up through the wrists, and then we'll get into some hip stuff. So again, starting with a little bit more mobility work, and then we'll get into a little more Pilates. So if we take the right arm and bring the right arm forward and squeeze right away into your arm muscles, see if you can make them pop, pop, pop. And we're going to try to, even though we're not like officially kind of Pilatesing it up right away, can we watch the tendency to want to lean into our low backs or super scoop and try to find a nice in-between space where we're not tilted, we're not scooped, we're just right in the middle, which will require a little bit of core here just to like keep the rib cage drawing in, keep the pelvic floor engaged up and down. So right arm is forward in a fist or squeezing into those arm muscles. We're going to take the right arm and reach it forward. So we're protracting. We're trying to reach as much as we can, keeping the pelvis still. And then we're going to squeeze the shoulder blade onto the back. Reaching that arm forward. As the arm goes forward, watching the desire to kind of hug with it. We're going to keep our body nice and stacked and then squeeze the shoulder blade on the back. Reaching it forward, finding where it feels reasonable to inhale and exhale here. I really don't mind which way you go. It feels for my body on an inhale to reach forward. And for an exhale to hug back. Notice as you're doing this as well, the relationship between shoulder and ear. If you're kind of feeling really, really tight up in your traps and into your levator scap, we want to try to keep it a little bit lower. One more time, reaching it forward and then hugging it back. Letting that arm settle in the middle. Now we're going to take our shoulder blade and squeeze it down. Like we're trying to push the tip of our shoulder down towards our feet. And then we're going to try and take that shoulder blade and lift it up, which I know feels like obvious, right? Like we would squish, but I'm trying to change the emphasis from squishing right at the top to being more of like a lift from underneath. So it's like something's come underneath your shoulder blade and pushed it, and then you're getting pushed down as opposed to a squeezing in through the neck. I know it's like so subtle and maybe that difference is really hard to find and feel, but if we start to think about it that way, it's going to start to change and turn on different muscles. Now, I'm hoping at this point, because your arm is still squeezing, we're starting to get a little bit fatigued through that shoulder. Squeezing it down. One more time, lifting it up. Squeezing it down. Now, pause in that. This is called depression when we push the shoulder blade down. We're going to try to swoop the shoulder blade around and forward so we arrive in that protraction, that reach. We're going to use the scapula to lift our shoulder blade up so we end up in that elevation, shoulder blade towards your ear. We're going to scoop it down and around and back so we pass through that retraction where your shoulder blade's behind you, and then it scoops down towards the floor. And the whole time you're squeezing your arm, we're going to do 2 more in this direction, circling it forward, and you're really trying to peel. We're trying to mobilize the muscles that are supporting our shoulder girdle here. Lifting up, keep squeezing that arm, taking it back behind you, and then down to the floor. One more full range here. Again, squeezing into that arm as you reach it forward, squeezing into the arm as you lift up, squeezing into the arm behind you, and then down into your depression. Let's take it the other way. So that shoulder blade is trying to hug down, down, down. We squeeze it back into that retraction where your shoulder blade is squeezing to your spine. We take the scapula, we lift it up, and then we reach it up and forward, and then down towards the floor. 2 more here. Squeezing back. Keep squeezing that arm muscle, lifting up, around and forward, and then down to the floor. 1 more time. Squeeze it up and back, and then up towards the ceiling, around and forward, and then bring it down and shake it out. And I'm hoping by the end there, you're like, okay, things are happening here. Doesn't feel quite the same as doing like tons and tons of push-ups, but it's a different recruitment. I'm going to turn myself around, but you're welcome to be as you are. Let's squeeze out through that left arm. So left arm is reaching. Again, we're firing up through those muscles, giving them a nice squeeze, finding the relationship of connecting into those low abs or the lower part of our abdomen just a little bit so that we're not hanging out into our backs. Starting with that protraction, you're going to reach forward like you're trying to punch your fist towards something in front of you. Fully squeeze your arm. Yeah, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then we're going to squeeze that shoulder blade back as if it wants to sandwich your spine. Reaching it forward, keeping the fist nice and active, the arm nice and active, and then squeeze it back behind. Reaching it forward. I really like doing this sort of subtle work in conjunction with Pilates because our shoulder area is completely this like very intricate, interesting part of our body. I mean, so much of anatomy I feel like is like that, but we're very forward engaged beings, and this particular part of our body is a back part of our body, right? It's sort of beside us and behind us, and so it's easy for things to become sort of out of balance. And when we take things slow like this, it gives us that chance to really feel that squeeze behind us. One more time, reach that arm forward and then pull it back. We're going to bring the arm back to settle right in the middle and then check and make sure that those muscles are squeezing. Shoulder blade is going to slide down towards the floor, and then shoulder blade is going to lift up. Shoulder blade is going to slide down, squeeze, 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 and then as if someone's lifting the shoulder blade, the scapula from underneath. It's pushing it up as opposed to it being pulled. Now it might feel the same regardless, and again, that's totally fine. It's just the musculature that we're trying to emphasize and change. Lifting it up. Let's go for 2. Squeezing through those arm muscles again. I'm hoping wherever you are that you're feeling that, and find your full range, right? So don't worry if you generally get told you're hyperextended. Find your full range, but then see if you can find your tone. And if you can't find it in your full range, bend a little bit, find the tone there. We're going to pause in that depression of the shoulder blade down. We're going to start to scoop the tip of the scapula forward. And as it goes forward, we find that moment of protracting. And then like we're lifting the scapula from underneath us, it comes up to our ear into that elevation. It scoops up and around behind, squeezing and snuggling to our spine in that retraction, and then scooping and drawing down to that floor in that depression. Keep the arm squeezing. We have 2 more like this. It reaches forward. How extreme and big can you make this movement? Keeping tone and tension in your arm, squeezing it and then scooping it down to the floor, engaging through that arm muscle. The whole entire time. Around, back, behind, and then pause down to the floor. This time we're going to sweep it all the way up and back past through that retraction, and then it lifts up into that elevation, and then it swoops forward into that protraction, and then down to the floor. Sweeping it up and back. Up towards the ceiling, keep squeezing that arm, reach it forward. Down to the floor to scoop, and then up, snuggle to that spine. Keep your arm nice and toned. Up and forward, and then down to the ground, and give those arms a little shake. Whew, lots happening there, yeah? I'm going to just scoot my kneeling situation out of the way. From kneeling, can you step your right foot forward, please? And you're going to bring your hands down. Now, if your hands can't come down beside your right foot, here, in fact, I'll turn and face you. Maybe that would be helpful. So hands can come down. We're going to turn our right toes out to 10 o'clock. So we've taken that whole leg and turned it out, and then you're going to freeze. I'm going to go sideways just so you can see what's happening behind me. Now, we've turned the right toes out. We're going to freeze there. Instead of sitting in this shape, we're going to hug the legs in towards each other. So that back left bum cheek is fire. You're going to turn it on. You're going to hug those legs in together, and I'd like you to feel that right bum cheek as well. So instead of sitting in our flexibility, we're engaged. Those right toes are facing 2 o'clock. Can we lift the big toe side of the foot so you're on the pinky toe side of your foot, and then again, freeze. And instead of just opening mindlessly, can we feel that whole pinky toe edge of the foot connecting to the floor and then hugging in? And so any opening of that right thigh is happening because your mind-body connection is turning it out, but everything is hugging into center. You're going to find as much tension as you can in your body here. We're going to hold here for 5, for 4. This is my version of a hip mobilizer. For 2, for 1, plant the right foot down, maybe send your hips back. Give yourself a little moment to pause. When you're ready, stepping forward again. So right toes are pointed to 2 o'clock. We're hugging those legs in. So if I were being dramatic, this would be just sort of sitting, but I'm pulling everything in, lifting up that big toe edge side of the foot. Pinky toe edge is connected to the floor. We're going to hug our legs in like crazy, 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 and then try to turn the thigh out. But we're not using our hands. We're using our brains to turn it out, and we're still hugging it in. Like that right femur, your right thigh bone is trying to be suction cupped into your hip socket. For 3, left glute squeezing. For 2, for 1, plant that foot down, take a little sit back. Whew. 2 more times, plant down through that right toe, hug the legs in. So feeling that engagement right out of the gate, open out through that right thigh. So you're on your pinky toe edge side of your foot, squeeze everything. And now if you'd like some more rotation here, you're gonna press your left hand to the floor and turn your chest to the right, maybe reach your right hand. But everything is squeezing for 3, squeezing and opening for 2, squeezing and opening for 1, lower down, send your hips back, give yourself a little breather. So nothing about this should feel like a relaxing stretch. Okay, last time, stepping it forward, toes are turned out, hug the legs in, open out through that right leg. So hugging in towards the midline, rotated through that thigh. Maybe you have that twist of the upper body, but squeeze, 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 squeeze and rotate and open, squeeze and rotate and open for 3, for 2, for 1. Plant it down, send your hips back, give yourself just a little like, whoo, scoot, 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 and then we're gonna take that leg around. If you need to give your wrists a little shake, a little open and close, please feel free. And then we're gonna go to our other side. So this time your left foot is gonna come forward. And if it helps to feel like, oh, if I was doing nothing, I would be able to sort of stretch like this, feel free to find that. But then we're going to engage. Yeah, we're feeling the whole left foot pushing into the floor, heels hugging back, right hip is hugging forward. We're going to turn the left toes out to about 10 o'clock this time. So if I was facing you, toes are turned out. And then again, peeling up off of the big toe side of the foot, so you're on your pinky toe side of your foot. Blocks are handy here, or if you have a chair, anything, or if you're happy to come down, you can come down. So everything is hugging in. There's that moment where you sort of like bloop, bubble up. We're hugging in, and we're trying to open through the left thigh, but not passively. We're not just letting it fall open. We're hugging in. We're actively starting to open that thigh out there. We're squeezing in for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, plant your foot, give yourself a little break. So by doing movements like this in lieu of stretching, we're finding strength in the spaces we're creating. When we're feeling really, really tight in our muscles and in spaces in our body, if we just sort of stretch them without there being recruitment, then we leave ourselves really vulnerable to having a range with no support, which in turn causes more pain. So doing things this way allows us to find the range and find it with strength, which over time is so much healthier for our bodies. Okay, back forward onto that left leg. Left toes are turned out to 10 o'clock. Peel the big toe edge. You're connected to that pinky toe edge. Squeeze the legs in. Rotate that thigh only as much as makes sense for you. Now, if you're feeling anything in your knees or your hips or your ankles, just reduce the range. But as much as you can wherever you are, how active can you be here? For 4, it should kind of make you feel sweaty. For 3, like it should feel like work. For 2, for 1, she says, losing breath. 2 more times, bringing it forward, plant the foot to 10 o'clock, peel up to the pinky toe edge, hug the legs in, turn the left thigh out. Now, if you would like to add that rotation, you're going to push the floor away with your right arm, keep the right arm turned on, maybe reach up with the left side, but keep hugging everything in as tight as you can. For 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, plant your hands, send your bum back, give yourself a little break. And then last one. Remember, everything is hugged in. That's the first thing we want to work on. Then you lift through the big toe, but keep everything recruited. Turn that thigh out, push the floor away, twist and hug for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Plant it down, send your hips back, give your bum a little shakarooskies. And then we're going to take that leg back. Let's flip onto our backs and lie down. Thank you for playing around with that stuff with me for your shoulders, for your hips. It's super good for your hip health. Let's take our feet and plant our feet on the floor. I want to start here. And finding a nice home base with our pelvis. So your home base being where your hip bones and your pubic bone are level. I always like to start with that transverse work because it's sort of a theme throughout the entire class, right? Once this is on, it's on for forever and ever. If you'd like to place your fingertips on your hip bone and your thumb on your rib cage, if you're comfortable with that, I don't know if I've ever given you that mod before. It's just a way to sort of notice the relationship, right? Like you'll see if one is squished up to the other, we want them to stay nice and level. Hip bones, pubic bone level. Can you take an inhale through the nose into the backs and sides of the ribs? Exhale out through your mouth, allowing the rib cage to draw down. Inhaling through the nose into the backs and sides of the ribs. As you exhale, pelvic floor, pubic bone to coccyx, sliding up like an elevator towards your belly button. Inhaling through your nose, backs and sides of the ribs. There's an expansion and a softening here. And then as we exhale, there's a drawing towards the belly button and then wide across the belly button. Starting with a really gentle bit of a march. Inhaling here as you exhale, can you lift your right leg up off of the floor into a tabletop? Inhale to lower that right leg down. As you breathe out, left leg lifts off of the floor. Inhale to lower left leg down. Exhale, right leg lifts. So we're going to keep going with this little march. Now, although it's not that complicated as far as legs lifting and lowering goes, what we really want to take this simple time to notice is what's happening through our pelvis. For sure, you could do this with like zero ab recruitment and just sort of let your legs lift up and down. Your pelvis will probably move a little bit. So what I would like us to start finding is as we exhale through our mouths, how we're keeping nice and wide across the low abdomen and how we're not tipping the weight of our pelvis side to side. Once that is feeling nice and stable, if your hands were on your body or on the floor, you're welcome to reach your arms up towards the ceiling. Definitely gets a little bit harder when you have no hands to support you. And this idea of wobbling side to side, or this attention paying of wobbling side to side, still exists with your arms up. In fact, you have to think about it a little bit harder. We're going for 3. Working even as you inhale to make sure you're not teeter-tottering here for 2. One more time to the left. Can you leave your left leg where it is for me, please? Can we take a breath in, and as you breathe out, you're going to lift your second leg up off of the floor. Gorgeous. Now hands can come down here. They don't have to be up. This is a lot of load to have your legs lifted. Please know that I know that. And if we can, we're trying to not collapse into our low backs just yet. We're going to flex out through our feet here. We're going to take a breath in. And as you breathe out, can you start to take your right leg down and away? So that whole right thigh is moving. Don't let your heel touch the floor quite yet. And then exhale to pull that leg up. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, your left leg is reaching down and away. Exhale to pull it up. So move with your breath. You might want to do an exhale on the way down, quick inhale, and then exhale on the way up. You might want to exhale on the way down and inhale on the way up. Or you might want to inhale on the way down and exhale on the way up. Different ways of breathing. Find what works for you. It's your body, your practice, your choice. What we're trying to find here is that same stability across the pelvis. So we're not letting it extend away with our legs. We're trying to keep the pelvis really, really level. We're trying to keep the rib cage connected to the floor. We're still trying to think wide across our belly, wide across our hips. And can we squeeze the muscles in our legs? Tone up through those legs. Quick inhale, and then exhale to pull it in. That's my favorite. Hands can be on your body, on the floor. They could be reaching up to the ceiling. Notice and make sure that there's no teeter-totter or shifting happening through the hips, because the purpose of this experience is really to stabilize through our transverse abdominis. One more each side to the right. You will definitely feel some hip flexor here. You have to and you should, because your legs are in hip flexion. One more time. Bring it up. And then lower one leg at a time down to the floor. Take a breath in. Exhale, let it go. So that was more of a neutral home base. If you bring your fingertips to your hip bones and your thumbs to your rib cage, we're going to take a breath in. And as we breathe out, we're going to start to scoop our low belly and close the gates. Like if you had little suspenders where your fingers were, you would be closing and drawing those suspenders closer towards each other. Let's do a few of these pelvic tilts. Inhale to release. Now you're not using your glutes as you breathe out. The suspender action is happening because the obliques have recruited. Inhaling to release. Exhale to scoop. One more time. Inhale to release. As we exhale, it's like we're rolling a marble from our pubic bone down towards our belly button. Now stay scooped, breathe in. Stay scooped, breathe out, draw your rib cage down. Stay scooped, breathe in. As you breathe out, keep thinking wide across that belly. We're going to do these little marches again, and we're going to build some intensity, but we're in a new pelvic placement now, yeah? Hands can be on your body, on the floor, in the air. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, can you lift one leg up to a tabletop? Inhale to place the leg down. Nothing changes through the pelvis or the torso. Left leg lifts up. Inhale to the floor. Exhale to lift. Inhaling to the floor. Exhale to lift. Let's do one more to each side. Exhale to lift. One more time. Inhale to the floor. Exhale to lift and then pause. Now keep the left leg lifted. Remember, you're scooped. It's like your belly button is a sinkhole and everything's trying to draw down and into it. Take your breath in as you breathe out. Right leg lifts here. Flex out through those feet. Now, if your arms are lifted, they're squeezing. If your hands are on your body, you're trying to check in the relationship rib to hip. We're all scooping down into that low belly, and we're making sure that our hips are level. Take your breath in as you breathe out. Start to squeeze the right leg down and away. Now, as your leg goes away, hollow deeper. Quick breath in, and then exhale, pull that leg back to center. Inhale to be here. Exhale, left leg starts to scoop away. Now, as it scoops, as your leg goes far, don't let your belly come off of the floor. Exhale to pull it back in. Quick inhale. Exhale, right leg moves as the right leg opens through that front of the hip. Keep scooping the belly, scooping the belly, scooping the belly, and then finding an exhale to pull that leg back in. Inhale, exhale. Remember, we're trying to keep deepening and deepening, especially that fleshy low belly space, pubic bone to belly button. That's the space we want to keep scooping extra. Right leg moving. Now your breath can be whatever you want. I've been cueing the 4 counts where you sort of do like a double inhale, exhale. If you want, you could always exhale in one direction and inhale in one direction. Exhaling it up. One more each time. Now, even though we're scooping like our life depended on it, we're also trying to flatten. There will likely be a bit of bulging, but our goal is to try to flatten through that bulge. And I don't mean in a fashion way. I mean in an anatomy way, right? We don't want to be pushing our abdomen up through our bellies. Take a breath in here at center. Take a breath out here. Feet are flexed. We're going to bring our hands to our thighs. Oh, I can't help but laugh because I'm shaking. We're scooped through that belly. Knees are over our hips. Now, if you want to drop your shins, you can. It's going to relieve a little bit of extra tension through your hip flexors. Take a breath in as you breathe out. Hug the legs in 60%. Scoop the belly. Resist 40% with those hands for 3, for 2, for 1. Take a quick little break. Breathe in. As we breathe out, we're scooping through that low belly. Legs are coming in 60%. Arms are resisting 40%. Maybe your shins are down. For 3, for 2, for 1. Last set. Gently release. Take a breath in. And as we exhale, we're hugging the legs in. You'd think this would get easier after all these weeks of doing this, but it totally doesn't. For 3, for 2, for 1, collect your knees in, give yourself a little shake side to side. Nice big breath in here, please, team. Breathe it out. We're going to let our legs go out. We're going to bring the soles of our feet together and open our legs out. Ooh, little hip crack there, like a bit of a butterfly. Now, just noticing for yourself if, as you do that, your low back becomes miles away from the floor. Maybe we think about a slight little baby scoop just to make sure that the hips stay level to the pubic bone. Yeah, be where you need to be. Take those hands, bring your hands behind your head, lifting up through those elbows. Inhaling to look up at the ceiling. As you breathe out, nod your chin, curl up, and just look over the horizon of your feet. Inhale to lengthen back in space, head heavy in hands. Exhale. The work of curling happens from your rib cage, not from pulling your head forward. Inhaling to lengthen back out through your mouth. Full rib cage slides towards your hips. Inhale, head heavy in your hands. As you curl up, keep the head heavy in your hands. So little bits of housekeeping as you are working here. My hope is with the thighs opened like this, it's allowing your pelvis the opportunity to sort of relax after being up, and your hip flexors to relax a little bit after being up in a tabletop. But that might be irritating your hips. And if that's the case, please feel free to come to a more neutral foot planted parallel on the floor environment. Non-negotiable as you're lifting and lowering. Can we please make sure that that pelvis is staying really, really nice and level? We're going for 5. Things are going to get very interesting in a moment. For 4. It's always exciting when you hear that coming, right? 3. We're working from the ribs. Now, even as you inhale, it's not a break. For 2. Exhaling to curl. Last 1, we're going to take our ab curl and we're going to pause in our ab curl. Now, if your legs are turned out, you're going to lift your right leg in this turned out. So it's sort of like a half of a diamond shape. Lower it down, and then left leg lifts. And you're trying to do this without teeter-tottering across your hips. Your hip bones, if you had like a wall leveler, you know, those things that let you know if a shelf is completely level, that's what you're imagining across your hips as you lift and lower your legs. If your legs are parallel, you're doing that little march again, lifting and lowering down. Now, I will say if you're working parallel and you're like, well, this is pretty simple, try with the legs turned out. It does change the emphasis. And I want us to all kind of look down at that space, pubic bone to belly button, across the hip bones, and be honest. Make sure nothing is changing across that low pelvis. Whenever I lift my left one, I have to work super hard. We're working through our obliques here, through our transverses, and through our rectus. So there's a lot happening in this very subtle move. The next time your right leg lifts up, can you keep it there? Can you stay nice and neutral through your pelvis? Can your left leg lift up? Look, ta-da, we're in a diamond in the air. Maybe you're parallel, maybe your shins are down. Wherever you are, you're doing 8 little baby ab pulses up here, please. For 8, for 7, for 6, for 5, hips stay level. For 4, squeeze your heels. For 3, for 2, last one, hold it. Now squeeze your legs wherever they are. I don't care, but can you give them so much tension? Can you curl up a little bit higher? Maybe you reach your arms. For 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Bring it down, bring it in. Little rock across your back, side to side. Take a nice big breath in through the nose. Exhale it out. Okay, that was super exciting. We're totally not done. So find wherever you liked your legs to be. If you liked that little bit of a diamond, and I didn't say this audibly, but when we started lifting and lowering our legs, I narrowed my diamond shape. So they weren't coming from a total turnout. They were coming a little bit higher up. If you liked parallel, stay parallel. Hands are going to come behind your head. I'm already on fire. You're going to take a breath in, and then this time as you breathe out, you're going to scoop and find that imprint again. Stay there, breathe in. Stay there, breathe out. So really, really subtle work, but this is the work that supports your spine. This is the work that supports your pelvis, right? So that when we do the bigger abdominal activities, all of your deep stuff is set. So you know that no matter what, you're nice and worked out there. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, you have scooped through your belly. You're curling up. Now remember, if turned out doesn't feel good in your hips, you're always welcome to be parallel. We're going to start with that bit of a march again, but now we're doing it from a scoopy place. So I'm going to lift my right leg first. Put my right leg down. It looks kind of awkward because it's in this diamond shape. And lower it down. Right leg lifts. And down. Left leg lifts. And down. Let's one more each side. And down. Left leg lifts. Okay, we're nice and scooped here. Breathe in. As we breathe out, can you lift one leg up, whether you're turned out or parallel? I don't mind. And then can you scoop deeper? Your second leg lifts. You're in this diamond. Stay here. Breathe in, please. Stay here. Breathe out. You're going to take a breath in. As you breathe out, can you reach your arms up? You're going to inhale to pull them in. Exhale, reach your arms up. Inhale, pull your hands in behind your head. Exhale, curl up higher to reach your arms up. 2 more. Hands come to head. Maybe you relax back a bit. As you exhale, maybe you curl up higher, reach your arms up. 1 more time. Hands come to support you. Exhale, maybe you curl, maybe you hold those arms. They can reach for your toes. They can reach for the ceiling. They can reach it back behind you for 5. Keep scooping for 4. Keep scooping for 3. We're not done. For 2. For 1. Inhale, take your upper body back. Exhale, curl up and over to the left. Inhale, back through center. Up and over to the right. I dropped my toes down because there's no way I can keep talking through this and doing it with you with my legs up. As you're working through your oblique twist here, can you make sure we're not resting on the opposite back shoulder blade? So the work of rotating is happening from behind you. If you're twisting to the right, it happens from behind the left shoulder blade up and over. If you're twisting to the left, it's behind the right shoulder blade up and over. Remember, you're still scooping, squeezing through those heels for 2. Last one. Bring it to center, pause. Maybe you find that capacity to reach your arms. Maybe you find the capacity to reach your legs for 4, for 3, for 2. Last one, bring it in. Nice job. Oh, belly on fire. Breathe it in. Breathe it out. Nice job, team. Rock all the way over onto one side. Bring your lovely selves upright. So I'm going to give you the option of being up on your, you always have options, being up on your left forearm. So you're kind of in a bit of a side plank here. Now, if you're going to be up on your left forearm, you are pushing that hand into the floor, that forearm into the floor, and you're hugging it in. Just like we did with the legs, you're tractioning the forearm in. Collect your bottom waist with your right hand and bring it up. So we're not like hanging out beach vacay 2020. We're pushing and drawing ourselves up and in. If this feels unreasonable, we are working a ton of shoulder support here. Feel free to bring it down, right? So that you don't have to maybe work that shoulder support if you don't want to. Knees are bent. Right elbow is going to come into the waist. Turn on the tension in your arm here. We're going to let that forearm draw down and then little external rotation. If you have little hand weights at home, feel free to use them here. If you have like a thorough band or something and you want to hold on for resistance, you can do that too. But if we're working the musculature of our arms, that is so super perfect because there's so much more happening here than just that external rotation. We have the floor pushing away. We have the forearm hugging in. We have that bottom side of the waist, yeah? Bringing it down. Little external rotation. We're going for 4. Exhaling to open. We're trying to keep the neck nice and free. If you need to look down in order to do that, please feel free to do so. For 2, exhaling to open. 1 more time. Open it up. Let that arm come parallel to the floor. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, you're going to punch that arm forward. We've been here before. Squeeze those muscles and then pull that arm back in. Reach that arm forward. I'm going to lie down on my arm and then pull it in. Take that arm and reach it forward. Amazing how it can get heavy with just the weight of our body, yeah? Reach that arm forward and then pull that arm in. We're going for 3. Pull and squeeze. We're going for 2. Pull and squeeze. 1 more time. Reach that arm out. Hold that arm out. Bring your shoulder blade onto your back, but squeeze the muscles in your arms. We're going to circle that arm for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to go the other way. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maybe lift that arm up. If your arm is lifted, it's squeezing. Your hand can also come to your hip. Your hand can also come to the floor. Wherever you are, whether you're on your forearm or lying down, can we lift your top leg so that it's hovered parallel? You're going to radiate out through your tailbone, draw your rib cage in, And just make sure that those hips are nice and stacked. We're going to squeeze the top knee in towards the top shoulder. Now, sometimes we do this and I say you can tuck your bum. Not today. Today, can you keep reaching out through your tail, keep your hips stacked, and then squeeze your bum, push that leg away from you. We're going to pull the leg in nice and parallel, and then we're going to push it away. Pull that leg in nice and parallel, and then push it away. Now, if you are up on your forearm, you're still staying up on your forearm, but we're pushing that arm into the floor. We're hugging the forearm in. We're making sure that bottom side waist is not collapsing to the floor. Pulling that top leg in and then pushing that top leg away. Every time your leg goes long, there's an opportunity here to zip up through your quads. I like to flex and point my foot. It's up to you if you would like to do that too. I just feel like it gives a nice little bit of moment to mobilize through that ankle. Keep pushing your standing arm away from you if you are leaning on it. Keep hugging that forearm in if you are using it. Let's go for 2 here, please. Push it away. One more time, hug it in. Push that leg away and then pause. Now you're going to keep the leg out nice and long. Imagine like you have a paintbrush and you want to push your toes to paint the wall across from you. Right from your glute, can you rotate that leg internally and then rotate it externally, but don't lower it. Rotate it in, rotate it out. Now, super tricky here because you're not allowed to let those hips go with you. We're keeping the hip completely still, and the rotation is happening from deep inside our bum. If you need to take a bend of the knee to find that, please feel free, but continue keeping that quad really nice and strong. Rotating in, rotating out. Let's go for 4. Getting nice and exciting here. Let's go for 3. Rotating it out. Let's go for 2. Enjoying the spice-orama. One more time. Turn it out. Bring that leg to parallel. Pull that leg in so your knee is facing forward. Leg is parallel. Bum is reaching back. Hips are stacked. From the knee, little circles for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go the other way. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, for 2. Last one, lower it down. If you're not on your forearms just yet, pull yourself up onto your forearm. You can stack those legs and keep them nice and squeezed. Now you're pushing the forearm away, hugging the forearm in. Maybe you lift your hips up for a side plank. Maybe you lift your legs up to find a side plank. Maybe you'd be happier on your hand instead of your forearm. I really don't mind, but wherever you are, can we super zip up through those thighs? Can we keep pushing the floor away? Can we fire up through our glutes for 4, for 3, for 2. Last one, bring it down. Whew. Give your arms a little shakety shake. Before we go to the second side, I'd like us to flip onto our bellies, please. Coming onto our bellies, your hands are going to come down to the floor. We're going to flip our legs parallel, so toenails are pressing down. Interlacing your fingers, and then fingertips come to your forehead. Now it kind of maybe feels like nap time, which I mean, if you were to take nap time, cool, honor yourself, go for it. However, to make this more active, you're going to feel your toes pressing into the floor. You're going to feel your thighs zip up nice and tight. We're going to watch to make sure we're not tipping to the hip bones. We're going to find those low abs to tip a little more pubic bony. Draw the ribs in towards us. Feel your shoulder blades draw down your back into that depression, that hugging in. Get those shoulder blades a little more like they want to give your spine a little cuddle. And then let's pause here. Take a breath in. Let's pause here. Take a breath out. Now, can you keep your hands down? You're just going to gently, as you breathe out, start to lengthen your upper body out and up. Take a breath at the top here. Keep the tops of the shoulders nice and wide, and then gently lower yourself back down. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, drawing the rib cage in, checking in with the strength of the legs. Breathe it in here. As you breathe out, lower it down. Inhale. Exhale to reach out and up. Pause at the top, breathe in, and then exhaling to lower it down. 2 more. Breathe it in. Exhale, reach out and up as you lengthen your torso, making sure you haven't pushed your ribs into the floor. You're trying to hover them in, melting yourself down. One more time, breathe in. Exhale to reach out and up, and then pause. Now you're pausing here with your hands down for now. Thinking about that right leg without tilting your pelvis, can you reach the right leg to float up off of the floor? Just a little bit, like a hair, like a baby amount. And then if that feels good, maybe lift your second leg to float up off of the floor. Maybe the legs squeeze together, maybe they stay apart. Maybe you decide you hate this and you lower them down. Otherwise, keep the legs where they are. Inhale to lower your torso. As you breathe out, lift the upper body with the fingertips. You won't go as high. Inhale to lower down. Remember, shoulder blades squeezing on your back. Exhale to reach out as you come up. I have something happening with my right shoulder, so I'm going to keep my hands down because I can't actually lift my arms up like that. Inhaling to lower, and you might have the same. Exhale out and up. Let's go for 3. Maybe the legs are still hovered. Let's go for 2. Working into that mid-back section here, please, team. Out and up. One more time. Inhale down. Exhale to lift up and then hover. Now maybe the legs are reaching and they feel fabulous. We're not rocking onto our hip bones. We're using our glutes and abs to find our pubic bone. The rib cage is drawing in. Notice I'm doing this with you, but I'm still able to speak. If I were to push my rib cage down, I maybe wouldn't be able to do that. Maybe you can reach your right arm out like you're doing the YMCA. Maybe your left arm out like you're doing the YMCA. Hold your length here for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2. Last one, bring it down. Nice job. Turn one cheek to find the mat. Or maybe take yourself up and back into more of a shell stretch. Whew. Breath in here. Breath out. And then bringing ourselves all the way up. Let's come down to lie on the right side. Blanket folded over. So you can come down onto that right arm flat, or you can come up onto that right forearm. Wherever you want to be, we're making sure that we're pushing the floor away. The shoulder blade is connected onto the back, and the arm is hugging in. So if you're up on your forearm, definitely not like a hanging out vacation. Yeah, there's so much happening here. Lying down, I'm going to lie down because that's what the shoulder needs for me. We want to just make sure that those hips are stacked, and then your left arm is hovered over the floor. Inhaling to let that arm come down, and then exhaling to rotate. Inhaling to melt, and exhaling it up. So working just a little bit of external rotation through the shoulders here. And this shouldn't be a huge move. Like your fist definitely should not be reaching up to the ceiling. That would be a little bit too far for like me personally, how I feel like we should be approaching this. Because your external rotators are kind of small. Well, not kind of. They are small comparative to, they're working against your pec, your chest, the fact that we are forward beings, right? So if we can keep it a little bit more small and concise, but be really strong in our activity, in our action with it, we're going to do good things. Exhaling to open. If you were on your forearm, making sure you're not collapsing down through that waist. Keep the shoulder on the back. Keep hugging the forearm in, yeah? Wherever we are, still squeezing into our arm as we work through this external rotation. Let's go for 3. Let's go for 2. Opening it up. Last one here like this. Bring that arm to parallel. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, slide it forward parallel to the floor, and then squeeze and pull it back in. Maybe you want to inhale to reach and exhale to squeeze it in. Maybe you want to just go with the flow of your breath. I really don't mind. But what is important is our housekeeping, keeping the hips stacked. If you're on your forearm, making sure you're not starting to relax into the shoulder, into the waist. Keep pushing that forearm into the floor. Keep hugging that forearm in towards you. And squeeze that back shoulder blade. Let's go for 2. Squeezing it in. Whew. Last one. When you're ready, reach that arm forward, parallel to the floor. From the shoulder, little circles for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other way for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maybe you lift that arm up. Maybe your arm comes down. Now remember, you can still be on your forearm for this. Can we lift that top leg up to a parallel hover? Now just doing a little bit of housekeeping, right? Making sure that that top hip hasn't rolled forward or back, that we're keeping it really nice and stacked, that that top leg is parallel to the floor. And even as it comes in, that we're shining the tailbone out, and then exhale to push that leg away. Pulling the top leg in and then pushing it away. Now again, you'll notice that I kind of play with my ankle placement here. I like to push with the flex foot and then point my toe and pull the leg in, and then flex and point. It's really just to get a nice bit of movement happening here through the foot. Squeeze and reach. Pull it in. Push it away. Keeping the tops of the hips really nice and stable, and just really enjoying how when we keep the upper body nice and stable, that it means the glute and the lower body get an opportunity to really, really work here. Push it away. Pulling it in. Push it away. Noticing if there's any teeter-tottering happening through the pelvis. And again, you could be up on your forearm here. We're still working that same bit of business with the leg. You just have the addition of the upper body to think about. You're pushing that forearm into the floor. You're hugging that forearm in towards your waist. We're all lengthening through the top side of the hips. Push it out. We're going for 3. Keep the tailbone opening behind you. Let's go for 2. So you're spreading those tail feathers. One more time. Reach that leg out long and then pause. Now we're trying to zip up through the quad as much as we can. If you need to keep a micro bend to feel more tension, please feel free. But if you have a full range with tension, feel free to keep that too. Without moving your waist, you're going to rotate the top leg in, and then you're going to rotate it out. Now this is so teeny tiny, you might not even be able to see it on the camera, but it's because I'm keeping my hips stable. It would be bigger if I could rock in and rock out for sure, but it's like we're turning a key in a keyhole. It's really super, super specific here. Rotating and rotating and rotating, and it should hopefully feel fiery. Rotate it in, rotate it out. Still working that full tension through the leg here. Let's go for 3. Let's go for 2. Enjoying any burning that's happening. One more time, or maybe not. Bring your leg to parallel, pull it back into that hover and hold. And I'm hoping as you return here, it's like, oh, sweet goodness, that's more fiery than I thought. Little circles from that knee for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other way. 8, 7, 6. Maybe you're shaking. 5. That's okay. 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower it down. Everybody making their way up onto their forearm. Feeling the forearm push into the floor. Feeling the forearm hug in. Watch that that shoulder isn't leaning forward. It's on your back. Firing up through your waist. Find your side plank. Now maybe you want to extend one leg, maybe 2 legs. Maybe you want to be up on a full arm. I really don't mind. Just finding a version of this that makes sense to you. With zipping up through the quads, through the glutes, stacking those hips, drawing the rib cage in, pushing the floor away for 4, for 3, for 2. Last one, bring it down. Nice job. We're going to flip back onto our stomachs. Are we having so much fun? Can you imagine if I was like, and that was 15 minutes and you still have the whole class to do? Be like, what? Just kidding. That's totally not true. Okay. We're planting those toes back onto the floor to start, pressing them down, but there will be the opportunity to lift them up in a second. Fingertips to your forehead. feeling those little bits of housekeeping, right? The quads are zipped up, the toes are pressed down, scoop of your pelvis, widening across those collarbones, widening and bringing the shoulder blades onto the back, rib cage drawn in. Just the upper body to start. Take your breath in. As you breathe out, little lift up, you can leave the hands down. Inhaling to lower the upper body. And then as you breathe out, maybe right away you're open and ready to lift the hands with the head. Inhale down. Exhaling to lift. Inhaling it down. Exhaling to lift. Let's go for 4. Let's go for 3. For 2. Exhaling it out and up. Maybe your hands are with you. One more time, you're going to lift up. You're going to hold it. Now, maybe you lift your left leg up and off of the floor just a hair to hover. Maybe your right leg comes off of the floor just a hair to hover. Maybe your right arm reaches out YMCA. Maybe left arm reaches out. Ever so slightly, you're going to lift your right arm and your left leg a little bit higher, and then lower them down, and then left arm and right leg a little bit higher, and then lower them down. Right arm, left leg, and switch, and switch, and switch. It's a little bit of a swim here. Now, the purpose is not to rock across your hips or your low back. The purpose is to feel like your arms and legs are being pulled away from you. Can you find tension in those arms as you switch and switch? We're going for 10. For 9, maybe you have to lower your upper body a little bit. For 6, for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2. Last one, can you hold and reach out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower it down. You can use your hands to push yourself back into a shell stretch. If you're happy taking a few extra moments to just chill out, you're welcome to do so. If you'd like to do a little bit of a grand finale for the arms and abs, you're welcome to. We're going to find our way either into a kneeling plank or a full plank, but let's all start kneeling. You're going to feel the full hand pressing onto the floor. You're going to look at your arm muscles and you're going to squeeze them. We're going to use the information we just gained by bringing shoulder blades onto the back, drawing the ribs in. Now, if you're in a kneeling plank or not, you're going to squeeze up through those glutes. If you're lifting into a full plank, I recommend walking your feet a little bit wider, but you're still zipped up through your quads and glutes. Holding it here. Now, if you would like to add on, press really heavy into that left hand. Maybe take your right hand and tap it up to your left shoulder. Hold it for 3, for 2, for 1. Put it down. Take a pause. Really super zip up through the right hand without shifting through your hips. Take your left hand to your right arm for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Put it back down. Take a breath in. I'm doing a really not great job at not shifting because this is really hard for me too. 1, put that hand down. Keep pushing the floor away. Left hand to right shoulder for 3, for 2, for 1. One more time. When you're ready, still squeezing through those glutes, still hugging the feet in towards you. Place the right hand down. Last time, left hand to right shoulder for 3, for 2, for 1. Place it down, push back. Find a shell stretch. It really gets the heart rate going, that one. Let's bring ourselves all the way up. We're going to sit cross-legged and maybe adding a blanket or a cushion for a bit of a boost. Feels nicest through your low back and your hips and your knees. We're just going to inhale that right arm up and take a side bend over to the left. Breathing in and out here. If your right leg is not currently the one crossed in front, can you arrange your legs so that it is? We're going to start to turn our chest down to the outside of that left thigh. So both our hands are down next to our left thigh. Our upper body is twisted, but our right hip is still trying to draw back. And then we're just going to walk those hands over to the left, give them a bit of a reach, still squeeze and hug that right hip back. Taking a breath in here, taking your breath out. Walk your hands all the way through center and then bring them all the way back up. Switching sides so that your left leg is in front. I have my room is like a little jungle. I mean, you don't see it as much on camera, but I have plants everywhere. And so I just sort of find like soil all over, especially if I'm moving them. Like today was a watering day for some of them. So they're in the shower. Left leg in front this time, if not already. Left leg up and over, left arm, up and over. And then turning your chest down, placing your left hand on the floor beside your right hip. So both hands are beside your right thigh and hip. Your upper body, your chest is rotating down towards the right, but your left hip is drawing back. When you're ready, start to walk those hands forward. So when they're reaching towards your right top corner of your invisible square. And then all the way through center. Bring yourself all the way upright. Inhale, nice big stretch up. Exhale down, give yourself a squeeze. We worked some mobility and stability through your shoulders, through your hips. We worked through your arms, through your upper body, through your back. We worked through your thighs and glutes and all of the things. So have a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous rest of your day, and I will see you next time.
Great.